Hey everyone, it's Ivan with KitBadger.com, out here today to tell you about the 3-day Pistol 2 class down at Thunder Ranch. I've been fortunate and very grateful for a number of opportunities to go down and train at Thunder Ranch. They have all kinds of courses. However, Pistol 2 is one I never actually got to participate. I think I was actually there and got to check it out kind of from the outside looking in. Actually do a little bit of filming probably a couple years ago, but this time I actually got to spend all 3 days down there getting after it. And being Thunder Ranch, starting off initially with our kind of welcome, greeting, and briefing by none other than Clint Smith. Such a treasure.
Okay, why are you here for the next 3 days? Are you here just shooting, having fun, fucking off? Or are you practicing for the fight you're going to be in next week? You don't know, and I don't either. If I did, I'd be a mystic and then I could get $3 less or something like that, okay? We already all know. It's just like I tell cops. The next traffic stop is the one. As soon as you don't have that in your head. I didn't say you got to jump out the car, pull the gun on everybody you meet. That's not what I said, okay? But like, you know, if you stop a car, pry the gun from my cold dead fingers and fuck the police on the back of the bumper, that probably is some sort of indicator of what you're going to deal with. Dude, detectives call that shit a clue, okay? So you see a guy walking across the parking lot at Walmart or whichever one's still in business, shooting car windshields out with the AK. You and I have a long skinny stick on the right, drive the fuck away. Okay? Well, they're shooting at my family in the parking lot. Then you already know what the response is. Okay? And you already know it's dangerous. Okay?
Well, that took part of the morning. After that, immediately got up to the range, and kind of the rest of day one was largely a bunch of drills. More than anything, the way it kind of felt is one, getting a bunch of good reps, but also an opportunity for the cadre there at Thunder Ranch to make sure that they had a level 2 class. Granted, everyone to be in that level 2 class needed to take the previous pistol classes, but again, just kind of an opportunity for them to kind of see where the class was at. And I will say Thunder Ranch does an amazing job regardless of whichever course, whether it's Handgun 1, Pistol 2, like any of the carbine stuff, of doing a really good job of basically gauging their students and catering to them. Like, we will run as fast as you guys can run as far as curriculum wise. And so yeah, spent the rest of day one just going over a number of different drills. Moving on from there, something that I think was really valuable is every shooter on the line going down basically individually presented and broke a number of shots. Whatever Jack or the other instructors happen to tell you, be like, hey, give me 5 as fast as you can, like into the high thoracic, whatever it may be. And in doing so, basically, one, students have the opportunity to see what's going on as far as other shooters, and then you're basically getting a diagnostic feedback, like, hey, we're seeing this, like you're moving back under recoil, so hey, you need a better base or whatever it may be. And I think that honestly was pretty valuable, myself included. Then jumping into more shooting, one thing I actually really appreciate with Thunder Ranch is targeting. As far as where do we want to target? High thoracic, pretty good chance of stopping someone. If that's not working, pelvic girdle, or if that's not working, trying for central nervous system, trying to stop the threat. And so basically working those different target areas, and a number of drills kind of tailored to that. But then also the incorporation of essentially a target down on the ground just to respectively left or right of your target. So being able to actually shoot, again, can only get so much on static range, but shoot, and ideally you would track your target to the ground, still on the target, still on the trigger, and if that target needs another round because they're still not complying, you're still in danger, then you send another round. Of course, the stimulus for this is basically a range command, but being able to work through both those different targeting zones as well as transitioning that target to the ground and finishing work if it needs to be done. Something else that's pretty cool being there on that range is here you are shooting here, and then there's targets on the hill. Both a kind of reduced kind of BC, a red one, which is closer, and then I want to say there's like a black diamond even further. Definitely harder to hit. And so being able to incorporate that, or for that matter, just like, hey, let's see where we're at, and go through as shooters and actually engage respectively those targets. For my own part, I ended up handing my gun off to Jack. I don't even remember why. I think he was actually checking because I was missing, and he's like, let me see if you're off, man. Turns out the dot was off, needed to be adjusted. Also turns out, for whatever reason, when he handed it back to me, like the dot wouldn't come on. And I'm messing with it, I'm like, whatever, get what you get. Come to find out, I'm pretty sure I had moved it all the way down to like a night vision setting, so definitely not seen it during the day. But ended up shooting the rest of the day with the irons. Fortunately, that SIG P365 fuse actually has co-witness irons with their Romeo X enclosed. So yeah, shot the rest of the day with those irons. And finishing out day 2, we got into both a little bit of movement as well as starting to work on kind of some retention shooting. Both concepts as far as why we're doing it, and then yeah, putting rounds through it. That next morning actually started a little bit earlier because again, wanted to reduce the amount of time out there just baking in the sun in the afternoon. But immediately got started after a safety reef, everything like that. Got into some lighting techniques, basically how to hold your handheld light in conjunction with your gun, regardless of if you had a weapon mounted gun, just because if you pick up a pistol, it may or may not have a light on it, and you should always have a flashlight. So what are some different techniques? And basically working through those with the idea of stair-stepping later in the day to probably having an opportunity to use that light. And so, yeah, pretty cool working through a number of techniques. I will say the class was a little bit split as far as these people versus these people, which techniques worked best, which is honestly cool to basically be provided all of them and just opportunity to try out and figure out what suits you best. And then from there, we moved into malfunctions, stuff nobody wants to train, but definitely good. And essentially went through all of your different malfunctions you can have. And I do appreciate Thunder Ranch's approach, largely a simplified approach. Hey, the gun's not working, load the gun. Or hey, the gun stopped working, unload the gun and then load the gun. Keeping it really simple rather than making it more complex than it needs to be. And yeah, getting to work through that stuff. Next, we jumped into some partner drills. Something they really harp on is that trifecta of shooting, yes, but being able to move and communicate. And so working with a partner and making sure you have communication, getting that movement in there and doing that shooting.
Good. Excellent job.
And one of my favorite things there is their Terminator. It is basically a cinder block shoot house. And we got to do some shoot runs. So drawing on those lighting techniques where they're appropriate, utilize those if need be, but basically, hey, the house is yours. Work through it and solve problems as needed. Continuing to layer complexity on, shooting moving targets. And while they didn't necessarily have runners, basically moving targets. And so one thing that their targets actually do a good job of illustrating is movement on a person, because they essentially move like this. How largely people move, in that you're like, people don't bob like that. Well, when people are moving, the things that move the most when the target's going like this are the same things that move the most when someone's running or whatever type of movement someone's doing, i.e. the hips move the least amount, chest moves more than the hips, and the head moves a lot. And if you've never experienced that, it's very telling, and very quickly you see, man, if someone's moving, running, sprinting, walk, like whatever the movement is, if you watch someone, their hips are a lot more stationary than respectively those other two targeting zones. So this definitely reinforced that, and got to shoot through that some. And then making things interesting, occasionally get called out, have to shoot the target up on the hill. So keeping you from just getting locked in and laser focus here. Hey, there's another threat, and immediately having to turn, acquire it, and get those hits, which I think is definitely valuable. Being a level 2 class with an expectation of competence, let's get into some more difficult stuff. Starting to work one-handed stuff. not only just shooting, but actual manipulation, to include working on reloads. And hey, how can I safely do this? And then even getting into shooting other strong side. For me, being right-handed would be my left hand. And again, not only shooting, but also reloads. How to safely and efficiently go about getting that stuff done. Pretty fun. And because malfunctions are not fun enough on their own, how about incorporating one-handed malfunctions and kind of working through that, to include utilizing what you might have available to you, even if it's barricade or something along those lines. And we wrapped up day 2 basically working through barricades as far as kind of best practices and do what you need to do to get those hits. Coming back on our 3rd day, even earlier, trying to save us time in the sun, we got immediately straight back into the barricades. First thing we did after our safety brief and our med brief, just jump in, running. After that, we got into movement. Again, trying to distill down, not, hey, you need to step like this, but hey, here's some maybe best practices as far as how we want our hips oriented, things like that, and then exploratory learning after that, and working on moving in different directions while still maintaining an accuracy standard. Following that, doing some shooting in the prone. It's one of those where not super fun to work on, but kind of one of Clint's mottos is, hey, like a gunfight is not the first time to learn something. So the idea of being actually exposed and getting reps on something, that could happen. You're like, why would I shoot from the prone? You might not have really a say in that. Something could happen that could put you on your back, and like, that's the hand you got dealt. So how to basically work from that. Continuing to just layer complexity on. Also did more movement, kind of all different directions, and if you had a reload in there, like keep moving, but yeah, work through it. And day 3, another opportunity to run back through the house, through the Terminator. And then day 3 wrapped up with some partner drills as well as some facing movements. Again, going back to that shoot, move, communicate, being able to work through stuff with your partner, and then getting into just a little bit of facing. Overall, that was an amazing course. Over those 3 days, did a lot of shooting, about 1,000 rounds. And a lot of it really varied as far as kind of just layering on stuff to accomplish something further down the road, whether it was working on light techniques that then maybe you need to actually use in the house, or different things along those lines. And I also really appreciated working through malfunctions with the other strong hand. Something honestly where if you go out to the range, not usually at the top of people's list of, hey, this is what I want to go do right now. But overall, really amazing course that absolutely built on those foundational levels, like not an intro course, but yeah, rad course all around.
All right, Ben, happy to be back for Thunder Ranch Defensive Handgun 2. I believe this is the 5th time I've taken it with my wife, and we come and train here because we have 2 small young children, and we're hoping to bring them up in the world of firearm safety and training together. Our takeaway from this time around is the trigger manipulation across the different platforms in class. Both of us have started with Glocks, and it's been good to get experience on another platform.
Hi, I'm Steph, and this is my 9th time at Thunder Ranch. Here at Handgun 2, one of the things that I was exposed to that I wasn't sure would happen was a lot of partner training. We worked together and we were trusted to move behind one another and in front of one another in safe ways, and it really helped contextualize what I would do in my home and with my kids.
Hey, Monty Hudson here. My first time at Handgun 2 up at Thunder Ranch. Been a great class, wonderful instructors. My biggest takeaway, it helped me knock some dust off and also refocus on where my weaknesses are and where I can improve and practice going forward. So great experience, I highly recommend it.
Hey, my favorite part of Handgun 2 is actually drills that force you to think and solve problems while you're focusing on all the fundamentals and reloading and failures and all that stuff. But in addition to that, thinking and solving problems.
Hey, in the past I've done a lot of flat range shooting at home, but I've never introduced the real world scenarios that were brought to me here at Thunder Ranch. Shooting while moving, shooting moving targets, shooting with a strong hand, one-handed, shooting with an off hand, handling malfunctions with the strong hand and the off hand, communicating with a partner. Just a really excellent opportunity to introduce those things, and I've learned now that I've got a lot to work on at home.
Who do I think this course would be good for? Someone who has a really firm foundation in the basics. Like, this is absolutely a level 2 course. I do really appreciate that Thunder Ranch has a lot of things that other places just can't offer, to include just the way their range is set up, the way they have moving targets or far steel up on a hill, so you're not just, oh my gosh, my threat's like, maybe the threat's somewhere else, and being able to break that concentration, retarget or reacquire targets, things like that, super valuable. Not to mention the Terminator and getting to go do shoot house runs. Really, really great. Overall, really solid class. I would recommend it if, again, you have a really solid foundation in the basics. And I recognize Thunder Ranch kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's over in Lakeview, Oregon. It's a destination. You're not just going to end up going there. But if you do go there, something else I would honestly check out, and you're going to put planning into a trip to Thunder Ranch, so you'll actually need to put planning into a trip here too, is Cowboy Dinner Tree. Amazing restaurant. It's not a super short drive. It's probably like, I don't know, I feel like it might be about an hour from Lakeview or something like that. I could be wrong, could be a little more, a little less. Really cool. It has been around for quite a while. Amazing place and really, really good food. You definitely need reservations in advance, but it itself is a destination. So if you're gonna go do one, I would encourage you to honestly go do the other. You get a choice. You can either have steak or you can have chicken. And the chicken is an entire chicken and the steak is a massive steak. And everything's kind of family style. Like, you can either have like iced tea or lemonade, water obviously, and they bring out rolls, they bring out salad, bring out baked beans, and then ultimately your meal. And then I want to say dessert, we had strawberry shortcake, which was actually really good. But overall, incredible experience that as well. So if you're gonna go do one, probably encourage you to do the other, because just a rad time down there. And there's not tons else to do down in Lakewood, honestly. But hopefully this has been helpful if this is something you're looking for. And down below there'll also be a link. Go show you all the gear that I use throughout the class. And as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.